Hey everyone, Scott Lesenby here. I'm the guy who writes car reviews over at driveandreview.com, and this is a 2023 Nissan Rogue, and I like this. I like this quite a bit. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm not a big fan of SUVs of any size, mid-size or small or large or whatever, but I like this. And actually, let's just get right into this. I'm going to start it because I'm getting a little bit warm, so press the button, get it started. Air conditioning going. Perfect. First of all, yes, one of the things that I do like about this is that the AC is excellent. So, but I'll get into that. Anyway, this video is not going to be about all of the features of this thing. As I say in all my videos, that's not what I do. I like to do pros and cons only. I have no experience with the Nissan Rogue ever. Actually, maybe 8 years ago, I think I drove one. I don't remember it. And I know nothing about this. This is a rental car. I picked it up in Detroit. I drove it an hour north. I've been driving it around all morning. I've probably put 200 miles on it so far, so that's all I know. And what I do know right now, based on that experience of highway driving, street driving, I mean, it does go off-road, but highway driving, street driving, all types of driving, it's quite nice. Now, I will admit, when I first picked it up from the airport at the rental car center, I walked up to it and I thought, you know, it's a Nissan Rogue. It's all black and it's, you know, they're a dime a dozen. You see them everywhere. Then I got in it. I opened the door, sat down and looked around. This is nice. I can't think of many other SUVs that I've driven recently that are nicer than this. The Porsche Macan definitely was nicer than this, but I think that's it. I like this more than the Cadillac CT5, X5, XT5, XT4. I can't remember the names. I'll put it right here on the screen. But I like this better than that one. So it's surprising to me because it's just a Nissan. But the interior of this thing, and again, I'm just getting ahead of myself here because I'm going to do a whole pros and cons thing of the entire experience. But just getting in this thing and sitting down, it feels like a very high-end experience. But I'll talk about that more in a moment. But again, this is just a recap, pros and cons, not a full review. If you're thinking about getting one of these, or you want to at least drive one of these, and you're not sure if it's the right vehicle for you, this is the video for you because I have no prior experience with this and I'm telling you exactly what I feel after getting into it for the very first time. So let's just go for a drive and I'll go through everything that I like and I don't like. So, okay. One thing that I don't like, starting right off the bat here, is this gear shift lever. It's very BMW-like. It's not a standard gear lever that moves back and forth. It's just you have to click it back or press it forward for the thing you want to do. And to take it out of park, you just put your foot on the brake and then hit it backwards once, and then that puts it into drive mode, which is also manual mode. This thing has paddle shifters. I haven't used those yet. It's not that kind of vehicle for me. I don't care to use the paddle shifters, but anyway, here we go. And we are off. One thing that I don't like about this particular Rogue, I don't know if this is something that's, if all Rogues are like this, but this thing has 33,290 miles on it. It's a rental car, and it squeaks. There's something squeaking in the rear suspension, and I don't know, it just sounds like something is broken. I drove it up here from Detroit. I survived. Nothing fell apart or nothing fell off, so I think that's okay. So, I don't know. So I guess build quality is so-so. But I tell you what, just sitting here, it feels good. It feels solid. The interior is awesome, which I'll get to in a moment. But everything else feels good. It's just the rear suspension and some noises that I'm hearing all throughout the cabin. Okay, something else that I don't like is the transmission. So floor it. So I don't know what transmission is in here, but that feels like a CVT. That does not feel like a standard, you know, typical transmission. I don't like that. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of CVTs. It feels like, I don't know, it just feels cheap to me, and that's what this feels like. When you floor it, you rip it away from a stoplight, and you're trying to get ahead of traffic, it just feels cheap. It doesn't feel solid. It just doesn't feel, it doesn't have that, it's really hard to describe, but I'm just telling you, it just, for me, I don't know, I don't like that. Something that I do like, power. Power is good. This V6 is, see, here we go. I know nothing about this thing. I had the hood open. I was taking pictures earlier. I can't remember if this is a 4-cylinder or a V6. Sounds like a 4-cylinder. I'll put it here. Got all the information here, but it's powerful. It's strong enough. This is a big vehicle. Feels big. I mean, it's a mid-size SUV, but it doesn't. Let me take that back. It feels heavy, but there's enough power, so I'm not complaining about the weight, or I have nothing to complain about in terms of weight. So all you need to know is that power good, the way it shifts is bad. My opinion, at least. Okay, another thing that I really like, which I've already mentioned many times so far in this video, the interior. I love the interior of this thing. Getting into it for the very first time instantly changed my mind about the way that I feel about this. It's just perfectly laid out. It's just the right amount of sporty, and these seats feel like the seats that were in my old Nissan 350Z. They're not. The bottom seat pan bolstering isn't there, but the side bolstering up here on the sides, that feels good. that feels very sports car like. I like that. I just wish there was more support down here on the bottom part of the seat. But otherwise, the interior is just so clean, beautifully designed, and I like the materials. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of plastic, but there's some leather-like materials here on the dash, which is good. And then there's this material here on the center, then also on the side panel or the door panel. It mimics wood grain a little bit. It's plastic, but it's got some type of a grain in it. So it's kind of like wood grain. It's not. I mean, it's plastic, of course, but it looks good. It looks really good. It's not a cheapo, tinsy interior. I don't know what the word is. Tinsy is not the right word. Chintzy, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Something that I don't like as I'm going around a corner here, even though it's just a low-speed corner. When I was on the freeway coming up from Detroit, cruising at about 75 miles an hour, going around wide corners at speed, there's some kind of moaning or vibration happening in the front suspension that as I turn, it goes, and then I go straight, and it's quiet. Then I turn, So I don't know if it's the tires. It could be the tires. The tires look good. They look fairly new. This car's got, as I said, 33,000 miles on it. Tires are in good shape, so I don't know. Maybe it's just the tires. Another thing that I quite like, visibility is excellent. The rear windows are very deeply tinted, but I can still see out fairly well. I haven't driven this thing at night though, so I don't know what it's going to be like at night when trying to look out that way in complete darkness. But during the day like this, I can see that way, I can see that way, and even in the rear view mirror, it's all very good. I like how high up I'm sitting. Again, this is a mid-size SUV. It's not large, but it feels large, which I quite like, even though I'm not a fan of big vehicles. The proportions feel good. It doesn't feel obnoxiously large. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Another thing that I really like, and I have never experienced this in an SUV or just a generic non-sports car of any kind. Looking forward from the driver's seat, or you can even see this from the passenger seat, the haunches over the front wheels, they bulge, and it's so cool. If you've ever sat in a Corvette, or if you've ever driven a Corvette, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It looks very sports car like, because you can see the bulges around the wheel, the wheel openings, or the wheel where the wheels are, and then where the hood is, it goes down in the center, so it bulges up where the wheels are. It's like a Corvette. It's really cool. I can't see the hood unless I go like this, but all I see are those fender flares. That is really cool. I'm digging that. I'm digging that like a ditch. That's cool. Something that maybe I don't like so much is gas mileage. I haven't calculated it yet, but I've driven a little over, maybe not quite 200 miles yet, and I'm just over a half a tank. So, I don't know, I guess I was expecting more. I don't know. It's not a big complaint, but it's something to mention. Something that I do like, there are buttons here on the infotainment screen, and then also for the climate control. So it's not like cars these days where everything is going touchscreen. I like having those physical buttons. That's cool. Something that I don't like, the only way that CarPlay works, Apple CarPlay, you need to have a USB cord connection. It's not wireless. So at first I thought this thing didn't have Apple CarPlay, but it does. You just need to plug in the cord. So yeah, I mean, I think overall I'm mostly impressed with this. When I saw on the app this morning that my car was going to be a Nissan Rogue, I was like, oh, okay, just all right, whatever, I'll drive it. You know, not excited about it. And once I've gotten into this thing and drove it for a couple hundred miles, I think I'm a believer. Okay, I'm going to go around a corner right now and see if you can hear the sound I was talking about earlier. So, hear that? Now watch, I go straight, nothing. Here we go, another corner. Listen. I don't know, I guess it could be tires. Probably is tires. Who knows? But yeah, let's see what else. I like the modes that this thing has. As I'm about to turn onto a dirt road here, it's got all these different drivers modes. There's sport, there's off-road, there's snow. So it seems like a fairly capable SUV. You know, it seems like it's going to do anything you want it to do. You can drive it in all types of climates. Something else that I like that I didn't realize until this exact moment as I'm on a dirt road, it's solid. It really is. That noise that I was hearing from the rear suspension earlier doesn't seem to be an issue right now. I don't know why. I don't know why it was making noise earlier, but as I'm going over these bumps and railroad tracks and everything, it feels solid. I'm not hearing any rattles. Again, with a vehicle with 33,000 miles on it. It's a rental car. It's been beaten. There's dings and scratches all over this thing. It seems to have held up really well. That's a good thing. Already mentioned the air conditioning. That's nice. Maybe the way that it looks is, I don't know, it's not really my flavor, but again, that's very subjective. That's not a fault of the vehicle. Actually, it is a fault of the vehicle because I don't like the way it looks. I mean, it's just kind of plain and bland. I think there's other better looking midsize SUVs on the market that I would rather have, I think, from a looks perspective. So, and I think that's about it. I don't want to make this video too long. This was just kind of an introductory. If you're thinking about getting one of these and you just really want to know if it's for you or not, hopefully this was good enough or informative enough to answer some of those questions. And speaking of questions, if you have any, if I've not mentioned something that you're just dying to know, leave a comment below and I'll get back to it as soon as I can. I'm fairly active in the comment section, so yeah, all you need to know is this is pretty cool. It's a lot better on the inside than it is on the outside, and yeah, you should definitely check it out. And you know, I'm looking at the infotainment screen. One last thing that maybe I don't like, the glare on that screen is annoying. I noticed that earlier today. It's a very sunny day, and as I'm trying to navigate around, it's a little bit, it's glossy, and you might have a hard time seeing it in some lighting conditions. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.